Okay, now that you have your 5 panels cut, lay out your side and front and back panels in front of you, and you can put your bottom panel just to the side for now, okay? And make sure that the bottom edge of your panels is facing you, okay? This is actually a good exercise to do anyway, just to make sure you've cut your fabric properly, all right? And you're not going to really notice too much because you're only going to see a little bit coming over the side of the basket, but it might matter. For me, I have a vertical print, and I want the vertical print to look vertical on the outside of my basket, okay? So keep that in mind. With your bottom edges facing you, measure up from the bottom edge 1/4 inch on each side and make a mark. Okay, so basically, real simple, just so I illustrate what I'm saying. Take your tape measure and along the side edge and from the bottom edge, measure up 1/4 inch and mark. Okay, do that on both sides, both side edges, and do that for each panel. Okay, once you've done that, you'll take one side panel and one front or back panel, it really doesn't matter. You're going to lay one panel right side up and the other panel right side down, so basically you're laying these together, right sides together, and align one side edge, because if your basket is not square, you will notice that both side edges cannot be lined up. So you're going to align the top, bottom edges and one side edge, and you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam for these two pieces. Now, when you get to the 1/4 inch mark that you just made, you're going to stop. So instead of sewing from top edge to bottom edge, you're going to stop before you get to the bottom edge a 1/4 inch. Okay? In fact, it'll probably be easier if you start at that 1/4 inch mark and just sew up all the way to the top edge, okay? Whatever direction you decide to sew your basket liner, it needs to be the same for all pieces. So if you sew from the bottom to the top, you need to make sure that you sew all seams bottom to top, okay? And then of course the opposite is true as well. If you go top to bottom, all seams should be top to bottom, okay? So for your first set, again, put them together, right sides together, and sew a 1/4 inch seam along that aligned side edge, and making sure that you leave a 1/4 inch at the bottom, okay? And then you're going to repeat this for all pieces. You're going to unfold this once it's sewn and lay the next piece right sides together, aligning the side edge, sew your 1/4 inch seam, stopping a 1/4 inch from the bottom, and until you have basically one piece going around, okay? Once you get to that point, I'll show you how to press the seams, and then we'll move on to sewing on that bottom piece, okay? So go ahead and sew those side and front panels together, well, side and front and back panels together, and I'll see you in the next part of this video. So before we go ahead and attach the bottom piece, let's go ahead and press your panel so that it's just a little cleaner and easier to work with, okay? I like to press my seams towards the bigger piece. So in front of me here, let me get this a little arranged a little better. I have the smaller piece over here and the big piece here, and I'm just going to press the seam towards that bigger piece, okay? Just like that. And then I'm going to press the rest of it here just so that I get out any wrinkles or creases. So just a little cleaner, okay? And then I'm going to move this a little bit and then press this seam towards the big piece as well. So you're going to have two seams pressed towards one piece, okay? And then I repeat that for the other side. This is my bigger piece. I'm going to press the seam towards the bigger piece, and then the same for the other side. It's not really going to matter truly which side you press your seam, just as long as you press the seam, okay? Makes everything for cleaner, it sets the seam It's just a nicer project altogether. All right, now here's the tricky part. Not too bad, but you're going to pin your bottom piece now to these bottom edges, okay? So you can start with one corner, and I highly recommend you use some straight pins in this project. And again, you're still working with the right sides pointing in and the wrong sides pointing out. And you're going to align your bottom piece along all four edges and corners, pinning as you go, okay? So once you have all four edges aligned and pinned, you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way around. And that's the reason why we had left this piece open, because otherwise it would have been very difficult for you to sew that corner. Okay, now that 1/4 inch seam is open, you can actually sew, and your corners will be easier to sew and unfold nicely. Okay, so again, take your bottom edge, align it along all four edges and pin. Take this to the machine and sew a 1/4 inch around all four edges. All right, and then when you're done, I'll show you how to handle the top edge, and you'll be all done. So get pinning, sew, and I'll show you what mine looks like in just a minute. I still have the basket liner wrong side out, and I'm going to show you how to finish off this raw top edge. You're going to fold down the top edge about a 1/4 inch, and then again about a 1/2 inch, and you'll want to probably use some straight pins to pin this in place. And you're folding to the wrong side of your fabric, okay? So that'll keep the front part nice and clean. And you'll just repeat this several times, going around the top edge, folding it down a 1/4 inch, and then about a 1/2 inch all the way around. Now, I'm not using a tape measure right now in front of you, but you may want to use a tape measure to make sure that your edges are even going around the edge. You may find it helpful to press this before you stitch it. It's up to you and the fabric that you're using. But once you have it pinned all the way around, you'll take it to your machine and sew around the top edge close to the bottom folded edge. Not the top folded edge, but this bottom folded edge that you folded under a 1/4 inch. You'll sew that to secure the top edge, and then we'll turn everything right side out. Okay, we are all done sewing. Take your basket liner, which is still wrong sides out, and lay it inside of your basket, and simply take your top edges and fold them over the edges of your basket. And that's it. I'm Jenny T with SimpleSewingProjects.com.